Hey guys, welcome to Carrubba Conversations. I'm your host, Jake Carrubba, and I'm sitting here with my co-host, Kyle Carrubba, who's my little brother, if you didn't know. And we just want to say thank you for listening to our first podcast and taking interest in what we take interest in, because it means a lot, because a lot of people don't support this sometimes, and we're glad to have support. And if you read my bio on our YouTube channel, you can always DM us if you want any topics or if you have any critiques for us about what we can do in the future, and we greatly appreciate that. So Kyle's going to take us into our first topic,
which is the NBA free agency. As many of you know, the NBA free agency was started last Sunday night, and LeBron James was the first big player to sign, and he signed with the LA Lakers for 4 years, making $38 million a year. Now, it's a big deal because in the Western Conference, it's very overpowered compared to the East. The East is really just Kyrie Irving and the Boston Celtics and the Toronto Raptors. And Raptors aren't as consistent as the Celtics are, so
this takes us into the next problem of where our other big free agents are going to be going because, Kawhi Leonard has said that he doesn't want to play on a super team, but he wants to play in LA. So I assume that he wouldn't want to play with LeBron and anyone that LeBron would be taking in. So that only leaves the Clippers. But, that's the Clippers, and they're getting rid of everyone. So I don't know if he's just going to want to be a one-man show there or what's going on with that. And then also, we're talking about what LeBron has in LA, and he has a bunch of young, good players, which is good because he can mentor them and bring them to the next level. And maybe he'll shut LeVar Ball up once because I don't think LeBron's going to want to deal with LeVar Ball's garbage because he gets annoying, and I think LeBron's just going to shut that down. But it's going to help Lonzo because then his dad won't be yelling and he won't be making a fool of him, and players won't hate him as much. But you also have to see that LA took in Lance Stevenson, Rondo, and JaVale McGee, which are three players that you wouldn't think LeBron would be saying, hey, we need those guys here because I need to play with them. Those are three guys that I would think he would not want to play with at all because JaVale McGee is a warrior, or was a warrior, I should say. Rondo was on the Celtics, and he took some famous pictures that with a woman who was wearing a LeBron is a something t-shirt. And then you have Lance Stevenson, who's famous for messing with LeBron. So those aren't players that you'd think he'd want to surround himself with. And then you have to think about the Warriors, who now just got Boogie Cousins for a $5 million deal. And Kyle will talk more about that.
Yeah, so the Warriors haven't really made any offseason move so far, except keeping Kevin Durant for another 2 years, I believe, and then obviously DeMarcus Cousins. It's really a steal for the Warriors because they didn't have a real big man except JaVale McGee, and he's not very consistent, as many of you know. And going back to the Lakers, Magic Johnson has said that they are making a plan for LeBron James to fit people around them, that it wasn't like the Cavs last year where they have a bunch of vets that know how and they just pass to LeBron and LeBron does everything. He wants to make it different for LeBron so he doesn't have to do 48 minutes every single game of the year.
And just kind of conclude, I think that it's a good idea that LeBron left because there was nothing in Cleveland for him. Those guys were kind of just bench riding and like, all right, we got LeBron, we're going to be good. The whole J.R. Smith thing with he had no idea what the score was. He thought they were winning. He was trying to dribble out time. Yeah, he's clueless. He never has any idea what's going on. And he's just not the player he used to be. So I think it is a really good overall decision that LeBron left Cleveland, and a place like L.A. is just great for him. And now we're going to move into the World Cup because that's a huge thing that everyone's talking about because it's been going on for the past about 2 weeks, and there's just been some crazy things that are going on.
Our first topic is going to be the upsets so far and how Ronaldo and Messi both got out in the quarterfinal. That is a real surprise to both of us because both of us like Messi and respect Ronaldo. And as an Argentina fan, for me at least, it was odd to see that someone else except like Argentina would make it to the final because they've been so dominant. But now anymore, it's really just Messi, and they don't have much of a defense anymore. And Higuain's getting old. Messi is getting old too, but he's still insane. But their defense and their goalkeeper need a lot of work. And carry on to that.
And talking about other upsets, Argentina is a great one to start with because Iceland, which is the smallest country that has ever qualified for the World Cup, who was supposed to get blasted in every game they played, tied and scored on Argentina, which is crazy. And they shut out Messi's penalty kicks. I believe he had 10 shots in that game. He couldn't land any of them. And they really dominated that game for the fact that their goalkeeper isn't a professional soccer player. He's a filmmaker when he's not playing with the national team. So he plays no professional soccer. And their coach is a dentist. He doesn't really coach he doesn't coach professionally. He just coaches the national team. And when he's not, he's a dentist at his hometown. So this team was kind of just a complete underdog. And somehow they shocked the world. And I know you're thinking, well, that's a tie. But for a little country like that in their first ever World Cup against a team like Argentina, that's crazy. It was probably one of the biggest things they could have hoped for. And talking about other crazy things that have happened, you have all the penalty kick shootouts in the round of 16. You have Russia that's in the quarterfinals, shocking Spain, and that's insane. I would have never saw that coming. And Russia's just riding that home crowd advantage, and they're riding it well. I mean, they're just going and going, and they seem almost unstoppable to a T.
Speaking of Russia, they weren't even supposed to make it out of their group stage. They have never made it out of the group stage in history, and I don't think they have a pretty good shot at making it to the semis. Is crazy against Croatia, because for Croatia it's really a away game because the stadium's going to be full of screaming Russian fans, so that's really helpful for the Russian side. And they got some pretty solid players that can score and make moves and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things we're going to talk about that everyone has probably been laughing about and making fun of Neymar for is his flopping abilities, because lately he's been very theatric, as the professionals call it. But what he's been doing is, he just barely gets touched. Like, he got his ankle stepped on accident the other day, and he rolled around for a few minutes acting like he got shot. I mean, everything, he just falls down, and he's rolling around crying, and, I don't know what's up with it. It's kind of given us a bad rep as soccer players, because it's supposed to be a tough sport where, you get hurt a lot, but you deal with it. But everyone just thinks it's a pushover sport because people like him are just sitting here and they get touched or they get, someone breathes over their neck and all of a sudden they're just rolling around acting like their back's broken. And I just think it's ridiculous, because if you want to be one of the best in the world, you can't be flopping all around, because you take Messi, he tries to stay up no matter what. He can have all 11 people on the other team slide tackle him at once and he'll try to stay up. And then there's just some people who, for some reason, they just, like Mbappe is the same way. Today he got touched and he just fell right over and acted as if the world was ending, which I just think is ridiculous, and that shouldn't happen in professional soccer, because it's a man's sport. It's a bunch of men playing a sport that's physical. You shouldn't be acting like you're a bunch of 3-year-olds that don't like being touched.
And another thing to talk about was this morning we were watching the France game, and France was really dominating Uruguay today. I believe they won 2-0. Griezmann and Giroud and Pogba and Mbappe, the young superstar that's going to be a really, really good player in the next couple of years. I think France and possibly Belgium, if they hang on against Brazil, will have the biggest shot at winning the World Cup against whoever will advance against, or England, Russia, or Croatia,
Denmark,
or
Sweden.
So tomorrow it'll be the England and Sweden game. Now, Sweden was a big surprise because they came out of a group with Germany and Mexico and barely made it out. But they had a stunning win against Mexico, 2-0, and completely blanked them. Lucky for Mexico, Japan was playing awful this World Cup so far, and that's how they got out.
He means South Korea. South Korea had beaten Germany to not only keep Germany out, but put Mexico in, and somehow Sweden won that group, which is a huge surprise. And then they go on to beat Switzerland, who's number 6 in the world, and Sweden is not even in the top 10, which that's another big surprise there. And right now, a bunch of the big teams that you're thinking of, like Italy and Germany, they're not even in the tournament. Germany got knocked out in the group stage. Italy didn't even qualify, which is shocking, and that's that's something that their country is extremely upset about, and they don't even want to talk about it. That's like they're ashamed about it. And one of the things we're going to talk about, because I know a lot of people don't care anymore because the U.S. isn't in it, but I mean, it was a big disappointment that all they had to do was tie Trinidad and Tobago, and they were going to get in the World Cup. And all of a sudden, they lose. I don't know what happened. Their coach resigned. It's just awful. And now they're just playing a bunch of younger guys to try to get them exposure. And we really took a bad turn there. because we could have been in this World Cup, and the way it's going with all these little teams that are making it through, we probably would have had a big shot. I know it's awful that we didn't make it, but I mean, I guess we got to wait till 4 years from now.
Or next year is the Gold Cup, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And that is against all CONCACAF teams, and I'm pretty sure South America. So hopefully U.S. can shine bright in that, and hopefully we have a bright future in football, and hopefully by the next World Cup we'll be making it, and hopefully a good competition against all these big teams.
Mm-hmm. And we just want to say that there are a lot of little teams in this World Cup, like Morocco, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Iceland, Denmark, a bunch of small countries that you wouldn't even think of anything to be good. And then they're actually doing really good. And even though they didn't make it out of the group stage, maybe they got blasted 5-1 or whatever the case. Panama loses 6-1. But it's not all about, how much you're winning. It's about the little victories, like Iceland tying Argentina. That's huge for them in their first game ever at the World Cup. And Panama, their first goal ever scored at the World Cup was in a 6-1 game where they got blasted by England, and their fans could not have been happier that they scored a goal. The players could not have been happier that they scored their first goal. To be part of that was bigger than any win or anything. 6-1, it could have been 100-1, and they still would have been happy. It's not always about the winning and the money. Sometimes it's just about having heart and, just playing the game you love and doing what you love, because sometimes you can't win them all. You can't win everything. Sometimes you just got to sit back and think, you know what, I had fun doing that, and I really enjoyed that. We want to say thank you because we have to go now because we have other sports to attend to. But we just want to say thanks for, listening, and I hope you enjoyed it. And, if you have any critique or any topics you want us to cover, just tell us and we'll do it. And, if there's anything else, just tell us, because we're trying to make it a good experience for not only us, but for everyone who's listening, because, this is for both of us. So I just want to say thank you one more time. I think Kyle would like to say too.
Thank you very much for tuning in and listening.
Yeah, we'll see you next episode. And we're going to try to do this weekly, so we'll see how it is. You can always look at my Snapchat and Instagram stories because I'll be letting everyone know. And on YouTube and on SoundCloud, this will be available. And then we're going to try to, maybe get on the iTunes store, and we'll see what's going on. But just for now, thank you.
Hopefully on YouTube this week we'll get some things uploaded like this past podcast. And thank you very much for listening. And this was Carrubba Conversations.